So this night, tonight and tomorrow night is going to be the Seder. And the Seder has a very unique name, which is the word Seder, which means order. Now, in any other holiday, we don't have this idea that there's a specific order which we name the whole night based on the name of the order. Only over here, which there are different times of the year that there are specific orders that we do. There are different traditions, different customs which are done in Rosh Hashanah, eating different foods and different prayers connected with them, and also done in a specific order. But only over here does the night take the name of the Seder, Leil HaSeder, the night of order. Question is, what's the significance? What's so important about the idea of Seder, the idea of order tonight specifically? So the idea is like this. Living through life, sometimes it could feel very wild and very strange things happen to different people and happen to us all the time. And sometimes it could be things that are very unexplainable. There could be very strange challenges and problems that happen. And sometimes we could forget that there's actually someone running the world. There's someone that's doing everything in a very specific form and for very specific reasons. So the night of the Seder comes and reminds us that everything is done in order. There's a specific order. There's exactly how everything is supposed to be happening, all orchestrated directly by God Himself. And this night specifically reminds us of this. Going back over 3,000 years, the Jewish people leave Egypt. We're a group of a couple million people, and we go into the desert, traveling into the desert without any water, without any food. Who would expect that we would survive? And this big country, this big kingdom of Egypt, superpower, who would think that they would fall apart? They should have lasted, and we should have died of starvation or whatever it would be in the desert. We went without any protection. But what happened? God decides what happens. We survived, we're around, and Pharaoh is long gone. No one even hears of Pharaoh. People hear of Pharaoh just from the slaves that left Pharaoh, from the Jewish people. So this night specifically reminds us of the idea that everything is with a Seder, everything is with an order and a specific orchestration by God. And this idea we also see in the Seder in a couple other areas. For example, we have 4 cups of wine. Now the 4 cups of wine are to commemorate, they represent the 4 words, 4 expressions in Torah of our leaving Egypt, the Exodus. V'yitzesi, v'yitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. 4 different expressions in Torah which describe the Exodus. And that's why we have 4 cups to remember these, to coincide with these 4 expressions. So obviously the wine is a sign of freedom, which is also why we have them leaning like a free man, like a king leans in his couch when he eats or drinks, because it's in connection with freedom. Now at the same time, it says in the Code of Jewish Law that if possible, you should make sure to have red wine at your Seder, to have the 4 cups specifically with red wine, to remind us of the blood which Pharaoh spilled when he slaughtered young children, to bathe in their blood, because he had a skin rash, which the doctors told him would be healed by bathing in the blood of young children. So here we have the wine. On one hand, it's freedom, it's joyous. And on the other hand, it's reminding us of a terrible thing that Pharaoh did to the Jewish people. The idea is that all the badness is part and leading up to a greater good. And we have this clearly in Torah, where Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Pharaoh and he says, "Let my people go." And Pharaoh says, "Oh, you guys are getting lazy. Now let me make the work much harder." And he started that the Jewish people have to provide their own bricks for the work, which was not before. So the Jewish people's work just became much, much harder. The Jewish people came to complain to God, and Moshe felt terrible about it. He himself went to complain to God, and he said, "What did you do to us?" And God tells him, "Now I will show my strength in Egypt." What kind of answer is that? He didn't answer Moshe. God just made it worse. So the idea is that God is telling Moshe, now that it's much worse, I will show my strength in Egypt, which obviously refers to the 10 plagues, which was the lead up to take the Jewish people out of Egypt. What's the idea? The Jewish people were supposed to be in exile as told to Avraham Avinu for 430 years. But at the end of the day, it was only 86 years. Why was it only 86 years? Because it was so harsh, much harder than it was supposed to be. So therefore, what was supposed to be accomplished in 430 years happened much quicker. And we were supposed to go out of Egypt much quicker than the whole span of time that it was supposed to be. That's what God is telling Moshe. It became harder. Perfect. Now I will show my strength in Egypt. Whatever was accomplished in this exile is done with. Now I can show my strength, now that it was harder. So the harshness is only part and the lead up to the redemption. May we be zeicha, may we merit to see the final exodus, the final geula, with the coming of Mashiach, Tzidkeinu b'mheirav yameinu, now. K'tyamtiv, Chag Sameach.